Hello everyone and welcome to this new video guys. So in this video we are going to cover chapter 4, 5 and 6 of class 6 History NCERT, and we are going to discuss important points only which are required for the exam and which will help you to develop an analytical thinking so that you can understand the higher classes NCERT also. Okay, so you can subscribe to the channel if you find the video good. Okay, so let us move ahead. So guys, first of all, so this chapter is based on the Indus Valley civilization. So first of all, chapter tells you that about 74700 years ago, the city of Harappa was developed. Okay, it means it was flourishing at that time. And then the chapter tells you that there were two divisions in the Harappan cities. Like first was the lower town and second was the upper town, you can say. Okay, so this lower town and upper town was basically a division, and historians suggest that lower town was occupied by the people who were common people and upper was occupied by the people who belong to the ruling class or the elite class. Okay, so this is a presumption. Then this chapter tells you about the city of Mohenjo-daro, and it tells you that there was a great bath in the city. So what is this great bath? It is just like a tank. It is made of bricks and it is coated with plaster and it is made watertight with a layer of natural tar. Okay, so sometimes the questions we have seen in the exam, like they ask you the descriptions of the great bath. Okay, like there are rooms along the great bath, there are bathrooms, there are stairs to go down into the tank. Okay, so this kind of descriptive questions have been asked on the great bath, so do read about it. But right now here in the class 6 NCERT we are just developing a basic understanding, you can say. Okay, when we will move to the higher classes we will read more about it. Then the chapter tells you about the city of Lothal and Kalibangan, where we have found the fire altars, okay, which suggest some kind of rituals were taking place or used to take place there. Okay, so the terracotta toys have been found, then stone weights have been found which are made of chert. Okay, and this chert is a material from which the stone weights were made. Okay, then bronze and copper were used to make tools, weapon, ornaments and vessels, and Harappan seals are made of stone, and generally they are rectangular, and usually they have an animal figure carved on them. And apart from this it contains pictographic script also. Okay, pictographic script is also there. So this was the important thing which chapter wanted to convey. Now let us see some more points. Okay, then chapter tells you about an important fact that cotton was probably grown at Mehergarh about 7,000 years ago, and spindle wheels made of terracotta and faience were also found. Okay, so this kind of factual questions can be asked. So what is a faience? It is a artificial material. Then Harappans got copper from the Oman. So it tells you about the external trade which they were practicing, right? Harappan city Dholavira, located in the Khadir bit or the run of Kutch. It was divided into three parts, okay, and each part was surrounded with massive stone walls and it had gateways on the entrance. Okay, so this kind of factual question can be asked, like which of the following cities of Harappa was divided into three parts? So the answer would be Dholavira. Okay, so these are some very basic facts. You must be thinking that why are we reading such simple things? Because this kind of facts will help you to crack the questions in exam even if the direct questions are not asked. Okay, and second thing, that it will help you to grasp the things which are mentioned in the higher classes NCERT. So that is the only motive of this particular video. Then another important fact for us is that city of Lothal was located beside the tributary of Sabarmati, and it is in Gujarat and it is close to the Gulf of Khambat. Okay, so this is another important fact. They can ask you the question like which of the following cities were located beside the tributary of Sabarmati. So answer would be Lothal. Okay, then the city of Lothal was an important center for making objects out of stone, shell, and metal. Similarly, apart from Lothal, Chanudaro is also a place where the craft making was very much prevalent. Okay, Chanudaro, you can search about it, although we will read about it in the higher classes. Right now it is not needed as such. Okay, so here some of the images are there. You can see I have shown you the location of Lothal, which is a port city, you can say. Then this is the Great Bath. You can see there are flight or the steps to go down into the well. There are bathrooms made along with it, and this is made watertight using natural tar. So this is pottery made of faience, and this is the terracotta figurines or the toys, you can say. Okay, so these were some of the images. Now let us move to the important points from chapter number 5. Okay, so it tells us about the early Vedic period, you can say. Okay, so first of all, the chapter tells you some crude facts like there are four Vedas, as we all know: Rigved, Samved, Yajurved, and Atharved. Okay, so the oldest one is the Rig Veda, and it was composed around 3500 years ago. Okay, and Rig Veda includes more than 1000 hymns, and they are known as Sukta. Okay, and the three gods are especially important here. First is Agni, that is the god of fire. Then Indra, he is a warrior god, and another is Soma. Okay, and it is a plant from which a you can say a toxic drink is prepared. Okay, and then the chapter tells you about certain technical thing which it tells you is that Sanskrit is a part of family of languages known as Indo-European language. Okay, then some Indian languages such as Assamese, Gujarati, Hindi, Kashmiri, and Sindhi, and many European languages such as English, French, German, Greek, Italian, and Spanish belong to this family. So this is a factual information which chapter tells you, and they are a part of family because they are they have a common origin. That's why we group them under a particular family. Moving ahead, chapter also tells you that languages which are used in northeastern part belong to the Tibeto-Burman family. Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, etc. belong to the Dravidian family. And languages spoken in the Jharkhand and parts of Central Asia belong to Australo-Asiatic family. Okay, so this is a technical information, although it is not much important, but you should know these facts. Okay, here and there it will help you to crack these certain questions. Then there are many prayers in Rig Veda for cattle, children, especially sons, and the horses. Okay, because horses were not prevalent in the Indian Indus Valley civilization, but then in the Vedic period, the horses became very much prevalent and their use became very much prevalent. Okay, because pastoralism or the nomadic culture was there in the early Vedic period, you can say. Okay, then the practice of erecting megalith began about 3000 years ago, and it was prevalent throughout the Deccan, southern India, in the northeast, and Kashmir. Okay, these are the four regions where megaliths were prevalent. Okay, so megaliths are like a big stone. Okay, basically they were erected and things were buried under it. Sometimes it was people who were buried under it, so they were basically a kind of grave, you can say. Okay, so there are different kind of megaliths. Okay, when like you will go through the higher classes NCERT, they actually describe about the types of megalith. Okay, and another factual information which chapter tells you is that about 2000 years ago, there was a famous physician named Charak who wrote a book known as Charak Samhita, and there he states that human body has 360 bones. So this is technically a wrong information which he conveys. Okay, so these were the important facts from the chapter number 5 which were important for your exam. Now moving on to the chapter number 6. So first of all, um, chapter 6 also talks about the later Veda period. and Mahajanpadas, Janpadas, and something about the uh, Mauryan period also. Okay, so chapter tells you that priests divided people into four groups called Varnas. The first Varna was that of Brahmin. Okay, Brahmin belonged to the uppermost part of the society, and they were expected to study and teach Vedas and perform sacrifices and receive gifts. Then in the second place, there were rulers who were known as Kshatriyas, and they were expected to fight battles and to protect people. Okay, so on the basis of duty, it was organized. Then the third were the Vaish or the Vaishyas. They were expected to be farmers, herders, and traders. Both Kshatriyas and Vaishyas could perform sacrifices of the Brahmanical tradition, you can say. Okay, then the fourth one were the Shudras, whose duty was to serve the other three groups, and they could not perform rituals. Often, women were also grouped with Shudras, and both women and Shudras were not allowed to study the Vedas. That is in the later Vedic period we are talking about, not in the early Vedic period. In early Vedic period, there were no such restrictions on the women we find. Okay, so that is an important fact for you to remember. Then Janpadas and Mahajanpadas. This is the new term which we are encountering for the first time. Okay, so the word Janpada literally means the land where Jana set its foot and settled down. Okay, basically a city or a town or a village. Not a village, but it is like a city. Okay, that's why it is called as a Janpad or a Mahajanpad if it is a big city. Then about 2500 years ago, some Janpadas became important than others, and they were known as the Mahajanpadas. Why? Because they were prominent, they had power with them, and they were, you can say, bigger in sizes and the geographical area. The Magad was an important Mahajanpad. Okay, so that is an example of Mahajanpad, you can say. Okay, so most Mahajanpadas had a capital city. Many of these were fortified and fortified with the wood, brick, and stone wall which was built around them. Okay, as the rulers of Mahajanpada were building huge forts and maintaining big armies, they needed more resources and they needed officials to collect the resources as well and the revenue as well. So instead of depending on the occasional gifts by the people, as in the case of Rajas of Janpada, they started collecting the regular taxes. Okay, because they had to maintain the army and they were building forts for themselves. Okay, so the resources were required. So the taxes on crop were most important. This was because most people were farmers. Usually the tax was fixed at one-sixth of what was produced, and this particular tax was known as bhag or share. Okay, then there were taxes on the craftsperson as well, and these taxes were in the form of kind sometimes. Okay, you can see the example which I have mentioned here, like a weaver or a smith had to work for a king or a particular personality for a particular day, okay, in a month. Then herders were also expected to pay taxes in the form of animals and animal produce, you can say. Then there were taxes on the goods that were brought and sold through trade. Okay, like the tax is imposed on the goods today, similarly it was imposed during that time also. And hunters and gatherers had to provide forest produce to the Raja. Okay, so it was more like a tribute rather than a tax. Okay, now moving ahead, let us discuss some more facts. So as I was saying that Magadha was an important Mahajanpat, so let us discuss some important like things about it. So Magad became most prominent Mahajanpada in about 200 years. Many rivers such as Ganga and Son flowed through Magad. Okay, and Magad why became important? Because rivers were flowing through it and it had a favorable geographical location, you can say. Okay, then this was important for transportation, water supplies, and making the land fertile also. Okay, and parts of Magad were forested. That means they provided the forest resources also. Okay, for example, elephants which were found in the forest around Magad could be captured and trained for the army. Then forest also provided wood for building houses, carts, chariots. Besides, there were iron ore mines and in region that could be tapped to make the strong tools and the weapons. Okay, so as we are seeing that there were elephants, then there were forests, then there were iron mines, and apart from that, powerful rulers were also there like Bimbisar and Ajatashatru, who used all possible means to conquer other Mahajanapadas or other Janpadas. Okay, and Mahapadmananda was another important ruler. He extended his control up to the northwestern part of subcontinent. This is just a crude fact which you need to remember. Okay, then Rajgir or the Rajgir in Bihar was the capital of Magadha for several years. Later, it was shifted to the Patliputra, and Patliputra became its capital. Then, while Magad became powerful kingdom, Vajji with its capital at Vaishali was under the different form of government known as Gan or a Sangh. Okay, so what happens in a Gan or Sangh? There were not one but many rulers. Sometimes, even when thousands of men ruled together, each one was known as a Raja. This Raja performed rituals together. Then they also met in assemblies and decided what they had to do, and they used to discuss and debate. Okay, so it was just like it was more like a republic, you can say, a republic or a democracy. Okay, so the decisions were taken together. Okay, it was an assembly rule, not an autocratic rule, you can say, like various people were ruling, right? Then another important thing is that they might ask you about match the following questions. Like they will mention Magad, they will mention its capital city. Then they will mention Vajji and its capital city, and they'll tell you to match the following. Okay, so do remember these capitals. For now, just remember the points which I have mentioned. In the higher classes, you will read about the other Mahajanpads also and their capital as well, which is important. Okay, so now let me show you the map. So here is the map of 16 Mahajanpads. You can say although all 16 are not mentioned, but you can see some of the important cities are mentioned like Magadha is here, Vriji is there, Anga is there, then Vatsa is there, Kuru is there. Okay, so this kind of things are mentioned on this particular map. Okay guys, so this was all for this particular video guys. Okay, so you can ask your doubts in the comment section below related to anything about preparation, and you can give your feedback also like how was the lesson. And thanks for watching the video. Have an awesome day.